Now, what the opposition is also saying is that the BJP is trying to leave an ideological footprint through building monuments. For example, the Sardar Patel statue. It's very ironic that they say that, but also with the Central Vista project, do you see any interaction between the ideological leanings of the BJP and the architecture that is planned?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, right? Because essentially, like your point is there such a thing as a right-wing architecture or a left-wing architecture? And I'm not sure if there is, but I think there's such a thing as a progressive architecture and a conservative architecture. Like a progressive architect would want to break away from old norms and create new shapes. And you often see this in like new forms of architecture in the 20th century in, say, Russia, or the USSR rather, where you had these buildings which looked very odd. Like they would have geometric shapes and they would move away purposefully from symmetry. And a conservative architectural thinking would want to preserve the beauty of the classical style of architecture. Like if you go to a temple, which is 700 years old, or I recently went to this Pavagadh Hill Station, where the temple had been ransacked multiple times across centuries. And finally they rebuilt it, I think about 250 years ago, but it had been ransacked like multiple times. And they rebuilt it on the old plans, and so it's a very old looking building. There's a certain beauty to it, and there's a certain grandeur and elegance to the old architectural style, and a conservative style would want to preserve that, and a progressive style would want to create new shapes and create just new forms. And I think as far as this whole progressive conservative tension exists in all architecture, and Bimal Patel, the architect behind the newly designed Central Vista, has talked about how some people in India like avant-garde buildings, these cubist, weird looking buildings that are not following any line or any symmetry. But then other people, perhaps like me, like pre-modern buildings. They like old buildings. They like the symmetry of the temple rising to the center and then a spire on top, right? So, so he talked about the tension of balancing these two different stylistic preferences. And there's only so much you can tell from the design. So once it's done, we can both go and take a stroll down the new Central Vista and see if it's more progressive or more conservative looking.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.